project category, and we reduced it by that same percentage to make sure we reduced it equally on each one of those individual projects. We had the same thing recently happen with the Sheriff's Department. They thought they still had about $1 million left in their splosh to buy patrol cars. The sheriff did request for proposals, put that out here a few weeks ago, and come to find out his money was gone too, and he was told his money had been used for the industrial park. So they had to create yet some more debt and do a lease purchase on those patrol cars. And so, when you've got money allocated in splosh and you've got other elected officials and department heads that are relying on that funding, and then they go to pull that funding, and surprise, surprise, they find out that funding has been misused. And so then what that created, the county had to go borrow yet more money. So my understanding is they've had to borrow, I think it's somewhere around another $300,000 to buy the police patrol cars for the county that was in the splosh that we bonded against, that we're paying interest on. And so now we have borrowed twice in order to buy these patrol cars. So now we've got basically, you look at it, we've got a double loan to buy these patrol cars.
All right, we got a caller over here. Caller, go ahead.
This is Bebe, and I just couldn't let that one go about the library. We used the money for Rossville to the cost overrun on the Lafayette Library. That's why we didn't have that money for Rossville. They had tremendous cost overruns for the Lafayette Library that we had to finish, and that's what we finished it with. Thank you.
Well, there were some cost overruns, and I subtracted that out, Commissioner. There were $600,000 that was appropriated for Rossville, so there should have been somewhere between $390,000 to $400,000 left for Rossville. And when we submitted a $2,200 invoice to the county CPA emailed back our business manager and said there was zero money. So we didn't have $600,000 in cost overruns on that project. And when you look at the most recent splosh report that's on the county website, and everyone could go there now and look at, which is through December 31st of 2015, it shows that there was even been, I think it was $178,000 spent out of the Rossville splosh, so it still would have left, again, close to $400,000. So I think we got to all get on the same page with that, because that's not adding up the way we see it from the regional library standpoint and handling that project. And I was involved in that one as well when we did the restart to get that one off the ground.
All right, caller, go ahead with your question.
Yes, and a comment. I think the industrial park is much more important. That brings jobs, money, and more money into the system means that we'll have more money for things like the library. And then another thing, I don't know if he's addressed it yet, about the board instead of a sole commissioner. But if we're so strapped for money, why would we want to pay a board and then pay him a big salary also? To me, a board they vote on things, and then he doesn't look like he's really at fault if it goes wrong. I feel like that they take the fall for the commissioner, and I feel like that's why we have a sole commissioner. They know they take the fall or they take the credit. You don't have to blame it on the board. A board we can't even afford. Thank you.
Yeah. Mentioning the industrial park. Industrial parks are very important. I think they've done a good project on putting the industrial park as far as the location strategically. But even with that aside, what you've got to look at is on a splosh referendum, those funds are allocated and put on the ballot for the citizens to decide. And so you try to take that sales tax money and hit multiple important projects across the county. I felt like when the splosh was put on the ballot in 2013 that the scope of projects was very good and very fair. And if it had been implemented as it has been presented, there wouldn't be any problem with it. But it's not the right of the sole commissioner to, after the vote, after the referendum, after the bonding, to say, hey, I'm going to take this $26.4 million and now prioritize it the way I want to prioritize it and spend it how I want to spend it. They're supposed to follow what the people voted to do and allocate those funds. Now, obviously, as Judy indicated a while ago, if you've completed a project and there's $10,000 or $20,000 left there, and you've got an overrun of another project of 10 or 12, you do have some lateral ability to move money from project to project. But you still have to complete every project. That's the key that the state outlines. And so when you don't complete those projects, you're in violation. Your comment as far as a sole versus a board of commissioners, during the primary election, I tried to take a very neutral position on that because I didn't want to influence that one way or the other. I wanted the citizens to vote. That referendum actually got more votes than I did. It got more votes than Jeff Mullis got in Walker County. I took 75.2% of the primary vote, and that referendum straw poll, well, it wasn't a referendum, it was a straw poll, that straw poll got more votes than I did. And so there are strengths and weaknesses to a sole commission form of government versus a board of commissioners. I've done this, I've laid this out on paper and looked at the pros and cons to both. The biggest thing that I see with going to a board being consistent is the fact you've got continuity. Right now, our county employees are very nervous and very scared because they know most likely there's going to be an administration change come January. And everyone is concerned about their jobs. They're concerned about the continuity in moving forward with the county. What's going to change? What's going to happen? Are they still going to have a job? And so you don't have that continuity. Another thing that happens with a sole commission, if your commissioner becomes ill in the hospital or is out of town or whatever reason, then who's in charge? There's no one that is legally in charge in a sole commission environment. So there are some high risk with a sole commission. There's some advantages I mentioned a while ago, like we talked in Rossville, where they can make a decision real quick to appropriate funds to handle something on a quick response. So there's strengths and weaknesses, but overall, the voice of the people of the county, I feel like, have spoken. They want to go to a board of commissioners. We've just got to work out what type, and I think they're looking for Shannon Whitfield to be the last sole commissioner. So that's the path I'm on. I did a press release on that back a few weeks ago, and I'm committed to that because I feel like that's what the people of this county are wanting. Is everyone going to be happy with that? They're not. Not everyone's happy with what we've got now, but I think we got to go by majority, and the majority has spoken. Over 75% say, let's move forward.
Tell me your feelings about the landfill issue in your last 2 or 3 minutes here.
Yeah, the landfill become a big issue. It was very disappointing the way the administration handled that because they only put about a 2.5-inch little ad in the messenger back in the legal notices. And if it hadn't have been for a couple of people really waving the flag, hey, look what's going on here. But the landfill is an asset of this community. It's hard to know exactly what the value is of the landfill, but we've got one of the few C&D landfills still left in the state. I've been told we're only one of 42, so you've got 159 counties in this state and less than 50 C&D construction demolition landfills. And so this attempt to raise funds and sell the landfill, BB first started saying that she was doing that, as Perry mentioned last night correctly, that because her opponent, she refers to me as her opponent, doesn't call me by name too much, but yes, I did raise the issue about how much money our landfill's been losing. We've been losing over $500,000 a year, every year on average for the last 15 years. So the landfill is not being managed properly. There's probably a lot of reasons why that's taking place. But when you have a sitting commissioner that says, I'm going to sell this landfill because I know private business can make money with it and I can solve several problems and I can take it away from being a political issue, I can stop the bleeding and I can raise some money to operate the county with, that's totally the wrong approach. Many people got involved and spoke up and made light of this. I was just one of several that were attending the meetings and bringing this to surface. But this really needs to be an issue that's left to whoever is the commissioner next year because it's not an overnight deal. There's a lot of things that need to be done to do it properly and legally. And one of those is you got to have an appraisal. At one of her meetings a few weeks ago, I asked that question. I was at the meeting and asked the question, do you have an appraisal and can you tell us about it? She acknowledged there in her public meeting that she does have an appraisal on the landfill. Even our county attorney, Don Oliver, spoke up and said, well, we're not going to release that appraisal when we're in the middle of active negotiations and put this out for bid. We're going to keep that information to keep a buyer from possibly reducing down their bid. Then we go 3 weeks later to the bid opening, and all of a sudden, there is no appraisal. They say, oh, well, we don't have the appraisal after all. We never had an appraisal. But 3 weeks prior, they were very confident they had an appraisal, and even our county attorney was telling us all the reasons why that he was not going to release that appraisal. So, not sure which shredder that appraisal ended up in, but I guess it's already in the landfill. But there's a lot of steps that have to be followed to do that properly, and I think that selling it is not the right option. We need to get in there and determine as a new administration of how quickly we can make that landfill profitable. Landfills in other communities make money and support the general fund, where in our community in Walker County, the general fund supports the landfills right backwards. So it's just a function of mismanagement. So I think it needs to be put on hold. It temporarily has been put on hold, but the commissioner has stated publicly and was also quoted in the paper that she still intends to sell it. So I think we all have got to be on watch for that to keep our commissioner from doing something like that when I have yet to find one person that is in support of selling that landfill. I even posted on my Facebook page, if anyone outside of county government was supportive of selling the landfill, I would like to talk with them. Not a confrontational. I would just like to understand if you see something that me or other people don't see, and explain to me your viewpoint. And I put my email address out there, my phone number, everything, every means of a person could contact me, even if they didn't want to do it face to face. But I still put that offer out today. If somebody has a valid reason why we need to sell it, I'd love to talk to you and learn what you have to say about that.
Okay. You got 1 minute here. Tell us why I should vote for you.
Well, I'm the only candidate that has got a lot of civic and nonprofit experience. I've had experience in city government, working on the city council of Chickamauga, and I've had an extensive amount of business experience and training. I'm a numbers person. I'm very fluent in accounting, and I think that we need someone leading this county with the financial problems that we have that has a vast knowledge of business management at the executive level and also has a clear understanding of the accounting process and is a numbers type person, because that's our big issues, those are our big focuses, and I can lead us through this mess.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.